people who just want to give kids food and medical care.
Food and medical care. Like that's your job. Like that's your job. You know.
You man, we're trying to do your job better than you do your job.
Like, you're not doing your job, so we try to do your job. Be like, all right, you're not gonna do our job for us. We're not gonna do it. So we're gonna, it makes no sense.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dell.
And this is the Black Catch-Up, where we catch up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more conservative religious childhood. Special episode.
Yeah.
So this is Judas and the Black Messiah. This came out like yesterday when we're filming.
Yeah, so it came out this month. We'll say that. It came out
very recently.
But I guess start with the IMDb.
The story of Fred Hampton, chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and his fateful betrayal by FBI informant William O'Neill.
Okay. So as usual, kind of starting off with things you liked. I guess I'll kick it off.
Yeah.
I thought very powerful story, and I thought they did a good job of kind of showing all the intricacies of the time. With the Black Panther Party. I know they had the crowns in there, the FBI's aspect in this. So I thought they did a good job of
and the creation of the Rainbow Coalition.
Yeah, the Rainbow. I just thought they did a good job of just showing the different political movements going on at the time and how they interacted with each other, how they interacted with the government, how the FBI interacted with them. So I thought it was just a very powerful story in that sense.
First off, I said there were just some beautiful shots in this movie. It was very well directed, and just beautiful shots from the establishing shots to when they first meet the crowns, their one-on-one meeting the Black Panthers with the crowns was really good. And there was one scene, I don't remember exactly, it's pretty early on in the movie, but I don't remember what instigated him doing this, but when Bill's character comes into his dark apartment and just throws the keys, and there's a shot of him sitting on the bed and just the two windows that are kind of orangey and blue. That looked gorgeous. Like I said, I can't remember what instigated that shot, but
actually, was that when he first got the car?
Maybe when he first got the car, or when they first finished with the crowns, or something like that. It was pretty early on in the movie, but it was a beautiful shot, and there were just some great shots in the movie. It was great.
The next thing I actually really liked the casting. I thought kind of top down, it was just really solid. Every character played their role very well. I also had that
too. The acting was really good. I especially give a shout out to Fred and Deborah. I thought their chemistry was really good and believable. And she kind of was a good toe of the line of not doing anything as a wife and kind of still being active. I felt as though she wasn't Fred's wife first. I guess is the good way to say that, because what I said before made no sense. But I feel so they did a good job of properly making her have her own dreams and ambitions, and especially when they first were both quoting the speeches together. It was she's just as in this as he is, and she's always wanting to fight and do all that good stuff. So I thought they did a great job portraying that.
I thought the poem she wrote toward the end about the baby and them dedicating their lives to revolution, but also having the baby. I thought that poem was beautiful.
That was good.
That was definitely a highlight for me.
Okay, so I said, now I'm getting into specific scenes, but I really liked the tension that was just overall throughout the movie. They did an amazing job of portraying that. So I really liked how tense the scene was after the crown meeting when they think Bill is on his bullshit.
In the car, hot wire the car,
hot wire the car, how are they? Because they first pull a gun on him and go, keep going, we're going. And I just love the tension of that. It was so good.
Yeah. And I guess kind of similar. I also really liked the tension. I saw there a good amount of it. And that scene where Fred Hampton was giving a speech and the agent comes.
Oh,
and
I have that scene too.
You just see those glances of them looking at each other, both chanting
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought they were great scenes.
And you can tell the FBI agent doesn't believe it, but Bill kind of, you can tell, does he believe it or does he not? He's putting on it. It was really good. I have another specific scene. I like the firefight scene when the Black Panther building is destroyed. I thought that was really well shot. It never felt... A problem that I have with shooting scenes in a lot of action movies, and this isn't an action movie, so probably why it was so good, was that you have no spatial awareness, so you don't know where everybody is or how things are working. But because they were in such a confined space, it really, really worked. And we never felt as though the space was either too big or too small. It felt like exactly the location it was in. There weren't like all of a sudden secret rooms that people were going in. It was like just, here we are, they're shooting from up here, police are shooting from down here, let's do this thing. And I just thought it was really well executed.
It was very well executed, very like grounded too. Like a lot of movies, like they ran out of ammo and that was the end of it. You know, like that's a real ending to like
and then like putting the shirt out on the gun, like we surrender.
And then they still got like beat up as they walked out. I like very powerful scene, I thought.
Really good.
And also I guess like going back to that, I thought that was a good scene that kind of like acted as showing like the almost like the military power of the group.
Yeah.
You know, like I think a lot of people like kind of like, I guess the Black Panther Party gets the reputation of being like a militant group, which like, to a certain extent they were, but I think that was a good scene to kind of show it. And I also think that scene contrasted very well with the scene at the end where they were all like sleeping and got raided.
Oh yeah.
I think like just kind of the difference between that shows like a lot, you know, or just like I just thought it was like really kind of powerful to kind of see the difference between the circumstances that led up to that first scene versus what led up to that like final scene.
I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
So, dislikes in this movie.
Yeah, for me, we mentioned the tension. I thought there was like almost too much tension, or like it was that very like uncomfortable tension that we've like talked about with a lot of these like black movies and like telling these like sad black stories. You know, where like you kind of know what the ending's gonna be, but so that tension kind of like puts you in like a very like uncomfortable headspace where you're just kind of like dreading the inevitable almost. So that was like kind of like the big gripe I had with this one. Like
I love the tension though.
Yeah, no, I did love the tension.
I could eat tension with a spoon in situations like that. I'm like, yes, give me more. I just thought it was really well. I think it didn't start off too tensiony. I think they built to the tension, which I really
it
enjoyed.
definitely did.
It started off like, oh, he's giving things away, like this isn't good. But as he gets deeper and deeper into this, and like even when Bill, I'm talking about Bill, when Bill is like trying to get out of it, I think that's when it started to like really ramp up the tension, especially when we got to the end, and that like effectively Last Supper scene where he's just like kind of standing to the side and people are like kind of asking him questions, but he's like not really giving real answers to them and just feeling suspicious the whole time. And eventually when he was like, I'm about to go get another drink, do you want some? Like we, the viewer, can tell something's wrong, but he played it off well enough that like in the scene I can believe in that world he didn't seem off. So I thought they did a good job with tension. We're saying things we didn't like, but I really lovely to talk about how I loved it.
I guess it's not even like the tension. I think the thing was for me, it was almost like that period between that first fight and the final one was like all tension. It was very tense, you know.
Because there was the one man who went off on his own because he wanted to find out answers about how his friend died. That was.
And I think did like the grocery, not the grocery store, like that little like convenience store one, was that, when did that?
That was a little before. That was when Fred was still in jail.
Okay, yeah. Okay. What did you have?
I don't have one thing, and this may be picky, and I'm not even sure if it's a real thing, but I kind of wish they kind of more explicitly said how young these people were.
Yeah.
Because I feel as though that would have been nice to like really still have in our heads. Like they said it in like an end card thing. It was like Fred died and he was 21 years old, and it's like I feel as though it's kind of common knowledge, but it's not. But I feel as though in this movie it would have been really, I guess, cool to see them as like the young revolutionaries that they were. Like they compare him to the movie is Judas and the Black Messiah, and like people forget Jesus was super young with a bunch of like young kids running around in the Bible. So it would have been nice to see like them not age him up, I guess, like or at least make more mention of his age.
I feel like they didn't talk about it at all, and
they
like
did not.
I guess like you kind of know they were young, and so but Danielle Kalala, is that his last name? He looks old. Like he didn't look 20. He didn't look 20. He did not look 21. So it almost came as a shock at the end. Like, oh yeah, I guess they are like 20, 21.
Yeah, I mean he looks good for his age, and I don't like saying that because he's like 30 or something.
Yeah,
but
I mean he looks grown. That's my thing. He doesn't look like he's like fresh out of high school.
Yeah, or like
maybe
fresh out of college or
no.
whatever.
He looks
and
like he's like 30, 32.
Yeah, I wish more of these like Black revolutionary movies, I guess, kind of like paid homage to the fact that they were so young. Like even in MLK and we didn't watch MLK, but like MLK was young when he was killed, and Malcolm X was he was like in his 40s, but that's still pretty young to just be assassinated.
Yeah.
But I wish that we got to pay more like reverence to the fact that they were so young, and like we get to like visually see that they're like just kids.
Yeah. I will say I feel like kid actors are the risk. You know,
I mean, like, you wouldn't have to use like kid actors.
But like
you could use like 20-year-old actors.
Yeah.
But I just feel as though I'm saying kids as though they're not like.
I agree. Like I wish like they looked young or came off as younger.
Yeah.
It's like we're like because right like in this, but also I will say at the time like 21 isn't the same 21 it is now.
That's true.
We're like people were 22 and like house family 2 kids already and like that was the norm. Whereas now it's like you're 22.
I get what
you're like fresh out of college kind of.
I can understand. And even seeing a picture of Fred, he doesn't look that 20.
No, he doesn't.
But like, still, I just kind of wish that they maybe took a little creative liberty there and just made him look, or at least
like mention something about them being younger.
And I understand when you're doing stuff like that, you kind of don't feel young. Like in Harry Potter, you're not on this yet, but like when they're like fighting against the machine, essentially, like that's a very grown-up thing to do. So you don't really feel young when you're doing it. But I kind of wish it was.
At a certain point, you're just like living life.
Yeah,
it is just life. Like you're not in school anymore. Like it is just life. There's like no next step really. So you're kind of just like an adult. Okay. Is there anything else? Yeah, I guess I kind of mentioned it, but like, I guess it's like literally the same thing I said with my first point. But like that like sad tension that was there, especially in that like final scene where they get raided.
Yeah.
Very sad. That was just sad. And like, and then another sad part, like the story hasn't changed. Like Black people are still getting killed in their sleep in their bed. Like that is the part that.
That's the part that always makes you sad when these movies come out because it's like, I know the same thing is gonna happen tomorrow. Like that's very sad. Especially when they were talking about this isn't like a point I have, but it's like especially when Bill kept talking to Roy and Roy would make a mention of like Panthers and the Klan essentially the same. It's like but that's fundamentally not true.
It's not,
and if you think about it, only one of them is actually dissolved. The other's still thriving more or less.
Yep.
And like only one of them you hear stories about like being targeted by the FBI. The other just kind of like
it's crazy. Like during this time, like Black Panther Party literally was like the #1 terrorist organization in the United States.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yet we still have like
yeah.
Things like that. Like organizations that have actually done it.
Yeah. Because I know the Black Panther Party was just kind of like almost like a at-home militia, basically being like, "Hey, police, what are you up to? Like, what are you doing? I need you to tell me exactly why you're doing what you're doing." It was kind of like that type of thing instead of like burning.
Yeah, and also like they're like we have the right to bear arms and we're gonna bear them because y'all are shooting us.
Yeah. They're very much questioning the very rules that are like, in society. And
they're like, we only have guns because we have to, because y'all can shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like we would love to not have guns, but if you won't stop this.
I guess not a negative, but the one other quote I really loved, that I forgot to mention, in the beginning that war is politics and politics is war.
That was.
All right, what was it? It was war is politics with violence. Politics is war without violence. I love that quote. I love that. But
that tattooed at the forehead.
Yeah, maybe not the forehead. Like the back of the neck, like the back of the head. But all right. Ratings or ratings.
Yeah, ratings.
Okay.
You go first.
I'll give this one a 4. I really like this one. And again, like it was just such like a powerful story, and I think it's a story that like isn't told often.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we've kind of like get shipped the same stories, especially when it comes to like Black history. We kind of get shipped the same stories a lot of times. And to me, this was one I hadn't heard before, which I appreciated. And then I think it was like told very well, as well. So yeah, I'll give this one a 4. It's very enjoyable.
I give this one a 5. This is my first 5. I give it a 5. I just thought it was incredibly well executed. All of the acting was so good. The tension is a drawback for you, but I love the tension. I thought it was really good. And I think we say that, or at least I say this a lot in movies, I was able to like feel the stakes Whereas in other movies, I cannot feel the stakes, but I was able to feel it. And even though I kind of like knew he was gonna die, because of course he's gonna die, but I still felt the tension in the room whenever Bill would make like a shady deal and like have to go to that like opulent restaurant with like. I also loved the fact that in the restaurant they were almost always waited on by a black waiter. I just
and then
loved
everyone
that
else was just
special
white,
touch.
looked very like rich.
Yeah, I just love that essential touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, and ultimately the only thing that I had was that the actors, I wish they mentioned how young they were, but I kind of understand why they didn't. But yeah, I love this. Would I see it again? No, but
I would say I might actually watch this one.
I might watch it again. But like, I have a rough time wanting to rewatch sad black things.
No, I can see that too. You know,
like, but I also kind of want to try watching it again just to see if I still feel the same tension. Because there are a few movies that I watch and I still feel tension at the same points.
Yeah.
But like, I want to see if I watch this again, would I still feel the tension?
Yeah, I think you would. I totally.
I feel as though I really would.
Again, like the way they shot it, the way like the dialogue,
the music, whatever it was like.
Yeah.
Go up and down.
It like had those like little jazzy things. Like it wasn't like even full songs in the background. It'd just be like a couple of notes that like.
Yeah. I just thought they did such a good job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, very good. Who directs it?
I honestly
do you know or?
You can go while we do our last question, which is, do you wish you'd seen it sooner? Which is a dumb question now.
I was gonna say, yeah. I wish I saw it yesterday. You know, like why not?
Right when it came out.
Like I was 24 hours late. You know, I could have saved the
Shaka
extra
King
20.
is the director.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
Yeah, they did
Yeah, I guess in terms of that, yeah, I would have seen this yesterday too.
I watched it yesterday. You know.
I watched it yesterday when it first came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max right now until like the 14th of March, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have HBO Max, I highly recommend watching it. If you don't have HBO Max, I recommend getting it. HBO Max is a banger of a streaming service.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Using the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also liked how. Sorry, I just looked at people. I also feel as though it almost seemed as though Roy was going to be a Judas for a second too.
Roy McDonald.
The FBI person.
Oh,
it
yeah.
almost seemed like he was going to be like another Judas.
Yeah.
I just really liked it.
Yeah, toward the end. Toward the end, and when they wanted to kill him anyway, even though he was going to be and when he found out that Sam guy was also an informant who like killed someone to pretend the other guy was an informant.
And then it was like, we basically have it in to find out where the Black Panther Party is at all times.
Now he's on us and he just goes around and we get warrants because he's there. You know?
Yeah.
So very, very shady stuff. Very shady stuff.
Does not surprise me.
At all.
Especially after watching like the documentaries we've watched up until this point.
Like the FBI was really on like a kill streak in the like 60s, 50s, whatever this was, you know?
60s,
like
yeah.
That's awful.
When the because I think that's when the civil rights was like really coming in.
Yeah,
and that's when Roy was like, you can't cheat equality. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
cheat equality?
that was like one of those quotes where I was like, wow, okay.
I was like, okay.
That just shows how disconnected it is.
I know, it's like cheat equality. Shouldn't equality just be there?
Equality should have been there. Y'all cheat. Y'all use guns to like make it non-equal.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
you're
that is
cheating
the reason we're in this
inequality.
situation, you know?
But like, you can't cheat equality. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that was there's some like pretty good one-liners in this.
Yeah.
That was definitely one. Alright, YouTube housekeeping. Like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell for notifications. If you have any suggestions for movies for us to watch, you can leave them in the comments down below. We do movies on Tuesdays and Fridays, and on Sundays we do TV shows. All of our socials will be linked in the description down below, and we'll see you next time to catch up. Bye!
Takes back the guy after some like
best man.
Yeah.
The best man.
That might be one of the worst endings we've come across.
That was so bad.
One stood out as being